Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Well, the market is in a bit of spot of bother if you're looking at the large cap indices. The mid caps are fine, but the bank Nifty is now down about 200 points, and that's trading below yesterday's low. And the Nifty also, we are somewhere near there. Ramdeo Agarwal is with us in our studios, co-founder of Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Ramdeo, good morning. Good to have you on the show, and you really join us at a good time, because tell us what's happening in the market right now. Is this one of those sharp bull market corrections, or has something changed for equity markets?
No, nothing has changed. Just that we had wonderful 3 years, so we had to give in, reversion to mean, and why it comes, I mean, it finds its own reason. Nobody knew this PNB scam will happen. I mean, you are the guy who keeps finding out what are the risks available. Look at your own tape 3 months back or 4 months back. You never mentioned that there could be a PNB scam. So the risk has a way to find we all in the marketplace. Just that market was overextended in terms of valuation, and earnings were not catching up. There were a lot of issues. So basically, this was a trigger for correction. And the correction is, if you see the correction, there are a lot of winners also in this period.
Yes.
There are a lot of losers, of course, impacted by this scam and all, but a lot of stocks are doing well. And good thing is that at this point of time, a lot of segments of the economy are really firing well.
Yeah. That is the point. We got that good IIP number.
IIP number.
Even the third quarter
credit
numbers.
offtake, which is the broadest possible thing, that has picked up. You see on first this thing, the kind of boom automotive segment is going, more particularly the high-end commercial vehicles and all. So it is spreading. It will spread, but valuation has already captured a lot of it, actually.
That was what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Just now we had Thermax Unnikrishnan speaking with us, saying that for the first time he's getting orders from consumer capex orders, from capital goods kinds of companies, as well as from infrastructure. So except for power, he said everything else is giving orders. Is all that captured, or at least will it put a bottom to the market?
Yeah, so clearly there will be correction. I mean, it should better correct. And then we have this political headwinds. I mean, people don't talk enough about it, but there are so many elections. I think 4 or 5 major states going on polls, and every poll is considered as mini general election. And then finally you have the big one in May.
After May, we don't have Karnataka in May, right, Anuj? After that, there is a gap for about 6 months.
October, November.
So it will allow market to recover. Then again you have, so I think if you look at year on year, I think it will be a nice year of correction. So then stage is set with the new government for whatever happens,
So you did say that sentiment has been hit quite a bit. I mean, of course, the bank scam is something that nobody was prepared for, but sentiment has been hit. What do you see as the solution? I mean, is there any solution to this mess?
It is the political bosses who have to take the call. But I think some of the low-hanging fruit without doing privatization, very radical politically possible or not. But I mean, within the even given constraint of HR practices you have, but why can't you have a little younger guy or even the old guy, but give him 5 to 10 years kind of tenure? I mean, even SBI gets 3 years, 2 years kind of tenure. I think ma'am who retired just now, Mrs. Bhattacharya, I think she got 3.5 years, isn't it?
Yes. And that too after the extension. I mean, her original term was only 2.5.
2 years. So I think if you give 5 years at least, and then another 5, because this is a crisis time. At least this is a crisis solution. You give to good CEOs, and finding those many CEOs should not be that difficult. I mean, of course, everything is difficult, but finding those CEOs and give them 5 years, 10 years, 7 years, 10 years, so they can plan something and execute.
Okay, so Ramdeo, again, getting back to the big question on the market, you think this year is going to be tough? Last year, of course, spoiled a lot of people. Last year, we had the mid-cap index rallying 44, 45%. Do you think this year we could have negative on the index, but still a lot of stocks doing well? Could we have that?
Stocks will definitely do well. That you cannot stop, individual stocks. But when it comes to discussion on index, there's so many things going up and down, So I would think that plus minus 10% from here is a good number to look at.
You always say that, look at the downside, upside will take care of you. So what is the downside?
Downside is 10%.
From here?
I would think so. I mean, one should be prepared for that much, and with a high probability.
9,500.
With high probability that much NAV loss in your portfolio should happen, even if it is a very well managed portfolio.
Okay.
You spoke about signs of, the pickup that we're seeing in terms of the IIP data and the auto, etc. How do you play on this theme? I mean, capex cycle recovery, and how will that result in terms of earnings recovery as well?
Yeah, Sonia, one is the market. So we don't look at the market. We look at our portfolio.
Sure.
So portfolio will keep buying what we think is right. So if we think that okay, there is a massive boom picking up in say commercial vehicles, so we'll see if we can find some inclusion in our portfolio. Is there 3-4% position left? Okay. We'll buy one of the commercial vehicle companies. Okay. You know, there are not too many. India is blessed with, number one is always 50%, number two is 25-30%. So you have a good chance of picking up a leader in this kind of situation. So you buy one of them. And then go on to see is there anything else which is looking very good. So for a segment like in entire automotive, we might be having say 20-25% allocation. So you make 4-5% change. Okay. So you get a flavor of the.
Okay, you pick up the leader in every space, and that's why we've invited a leader who has just come and sat next to you.
The leader.
We have Mr. K.K. Mistry, who has also joined us. We'll do one thing. We'll take a break. And then I really want to discuss the NBFC space, housing finance, interest rates, and what the bond markets can do to stock markets. All that in a minute. We have Mr. Mistry also joined in our studios. Well, we've got two prominent people, one from the market and from the economy, if I may say so. We've been speaking with Ramdeo Agarwal, and Mr. K.K. Mistry, Vice Chairman and CEO of HDFC, has also joined into this conversation. Good morning to you, Mr. Mistry.
Morning.
Well, first up, the NBFC space itself was the big leader of last year. This year, will things get very tough? We have seen the stock market tell you that margins are under pressure, but how will it likely pan out? Will cost of money rise?
My sense is interest rates have gone up. That is very obvious. But at the same time, you've got people look at interest rates the way they are today and compare it to the way the interest rates were, say, 6 months or 12 months ago. But if you look back at 2 years back, actually interest rates are lower than what they were 2 years ago. Interest rates in India really started coming down from July 2016 and then in a big way post demonetization in November 2016. So any liability today, for example, for NBFC which is maturing, which is say 2 years old, that liability is replaced at a cost which is lower than the original cost. And therefore in effect it's not, but yes, if it is a 1 year liability, if it's a short-term liability and that is getting replaced today, then that is getting replaced at a higher rate. So it depends on the asset liability profile of each NBFC.
So all the more reason, Ramdev, when you're choosing NBFCs, you would look at ALMs more important, and therefore in this category stick with the best. How will you approach this category?
So as Mr. Mistry is saying, interest rate is not that much of a concern. So I mean, when we look at NBFC or any bank, one of the things is the quality of underwriting and what has been the history of it, and what the rating agencies are saying and what the company is saying. So what is the connect and disconnect, and so long as the quality of underwriting is good, then we go to look at the spreads. What is the cost of borrowing, what is the lending rates, and what is the leverage, because the leverage can change everything. So like HDFC would be far more conservative in terms of leverage compared to many other NBFCs which might be at 10, 11, 12 times. So combination of all that and actually the old history, what has been the track record,
quality,
and is their books seasoned, then what is the ROE, what are the payouts, what is the growth rates, and then all this combination gives us some kind of a sense of value.
Okay.
The other theme I wanted to discuss, and Ramdeo, I wanted you to come in on this as well. Mr. Mistry, good morning. Was affordable housing. We spoke about that, and that was a big theme of last year. You saw almost, a 20% jump in your AUMs boosted by affordable housing. Is that going to still be the theme over the next 2 years?
I would believe so. Housing is a long-drawn project, so if once the boost is given to the housing sector, it takes a while before it translates into disbursements. Because a builder has to first buy land. After buying land, he has to prepare a project plan, get the plan approved, and then start constructing, and that's the time he'll borrow money. So the real growth driver comes in over a period of 2 or 3 years, not immediately. But since you talked about interest rates, I just want to add one bit there. We are looking at interest rates today and saying rates have gone up a lot. But historically, if you go back to the last 15, 20 years, barring maybe 2017, which was impacted because of demonetization, and maybe 2009, which was impacted because of the Lehman crisis, every year you will see interest rates go extremely high in February and March. and then tend to come down a little in April. And there are two reasons for that. The first reason is that the government's fiscal year, as we know, is April to March. And a very significant part of the government's budget, expenditure budget, is spent by the time we come to December, January. So the amount of government spending in February, March reduces, which then reduces the inflow of liquidity into the system. And the other reason is that 40% of the taxes of the year get paid on 15th March, irrespective whether you're an individual, company, whatever you are. So a huge amount of liquidity gets sucked out of the system. So February, March are 2 months when liquidity is tight because infusion of liquidity is less and existing liquidity gets sucked out.
Okay. Mr. Mistry, good morning. Yeah, just to extend the point that Sonia was making, we had a big growth, of course, last year in housing. A lot of these new age NBFCs, housing finance companies, have got a lot of their profit from the LAP book. Do you think we have built some excesses? I mean, some people say maybe even India's subprime. I'm not going to that extent. But are there excesses in the system which
we have believed, and we have mentioned this in one of our annual reports in the past, that we are a little concerned with the way loans against properties were being given in the system, because these loans against properties are being, some of them are being given. Let's be very clear. This is not every case. Some cases where the loan against property is being given based on the value of the property, based on a valuation certificate, rather than based on the repayment capacity of the individual. And any lending which you do which is only asset backed and not backed by income is a cause for concern. And I'm not saying everyone is doing that, but in a small way that is happening.
Ramdeo, there were some housing finance companies which were reporting 35-40% loan growth in some quarters last year. How would you separate the wheat from the chaff in the housing finance space? Are there more, ambushes that you should worry about? Places you will stay away?
Yeah, when you are lending, I think lending has to be with a lot of calibration. And on a high base, if you grow at high rate, then the organizations are not structured to take care of that kind of, because giving money is very easy, but calling it back, immediately you have to start getting the EMIs on time. If it is not, in that case, the stringency of that declaration. So it comes to be shown in the book, because this numerator denominator, when you keep growing at very rapid rate the base, this calculation of gross NPA also becomes much easier. But eventually you will, by law of probability, you will end up underwriting badly if you grow at very rapid pace. And then finally, in lending, this is the biggest problem. The credit, what we are seeing today is a colossal, bad underwriting in the system. And that's coming to haunt the entire nation now.
Okay. So, just before I toss to you for some more questions that you would have for Mr. Mistry. Mr. Mistry, just one follow-up. You did say that affordable housing growth comes with a bit of a lag, so the next 2 to 3 years would look good. What are we looking at in terms of growth? Is it like put together affordable and retail home finance? Is it like 15%, 20%, or can we look at better?
It's very difficult to give a number to these things, because the base changes. It depends a lot on what the base is. But clearly, if you look at this year, for example, you look at the period up to December, we have grown our individual loan book on a balance sheet basis by 19% and on an AUM basis by 17%. Now, this is at least a couple of percentage points higher than what it would have been, but for the trust that has come on housing, on affordable housing. So I would say 2, 3, 4% growth is additional spurt in the growth is something that one can perhaps see, hopefully see.
Okay, Raamdeo, any questions for him?
Yeah. Vicky, one of the things is that the longevity of growth. One of the remarkable thing about HDFC and HDFC as a group is that right from 71, when you started making first profit of 1 crore, you have been making, I think last year you made about 11,100 odd crores only in HDFC. So what I'm saying is that how to think about growth? How to think about longevity from here? You are the best person to, nobody knows.
I would look at it like this, that the demand for housing in India is very structural in nature.
Yeah.
And there are 4 reasons why the demand for housing in India is strong, and in my sense will continue to remain strong with a very long-term view. Yeah. The first is that housing has become a lot more affordable than what it used to be, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that has happened because whilst property prices may have risen over time, income levels have risen faster than property prices, and therefore affordability has improved. The second reason is that the penetration of mortgages in India is extremely low. The mortgage to GDP ratio in India stands at 9%. You compare that to the US, which is at 63%, the UK, which is at 68%. But let's forget the West. Let's talk about countries closer to home. Let's talk of China. China is 22%. India is 9%. So the penetration level is very low, and that over time will increase. The third is the government's trust on housing. And that is reflected in two things, two ways where they are encouraging people to buy houses. One is fiscal benefits. Interest is tax deductible up to 2 lakhs of rupees. Principal is tax deductible up to 1,50,000 rupees. Then there is the subsidy scheme which is available. Subsidy scheme is also a big booster. That's what this whole affordable housing team is all about. And the fourth fact, and according to me a very important fact, is that in India we have a young population. 2/3 of our population is below 35 years of age. And unlike the Western India, people do not buy a house when they're in their 20s. So the average age of a first-time home buyer is about 37 or 38 years, which means 2/3 of the population today has not even contemplated, not even thought of buying a house. But over the next 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years, the structural demand for housing in India will always remain strong. So I'm bullish about growth with a long-term view.
So is it likely that we will be inviting you in 10 days for an acquisition?
Which acquisition?
Well, you tell us.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, we just heard that there are 7 or 6 bids for Canfin Homes. We had the Canara Bank management.
Okay.
No, I mean, what I'm asking is, will acquisition be very important? Because you're
I
so
don't think
positive.
acquisition, I mean, if you look at any of the
You
companies
said you've raised
we are
money for
talking about.
acquisition.
No, we raised money for growth. So out of the 13,000 crores that we have raised, 8,500 crores will straight go into the bank.
Okay.
So the bulk of the money that we have raised will actually go as equity in the bank. Then we said we will look at health insurance. Now, health insurance, we can look at either organic growth or inorganic growth. If there is inorganic growth, then it will require, money will go straight away. The third thing we said is acquisition in housing finance, and good opportunities come up. But you must understand, Lata, that with our base, with our size, 3 lakh crores, buying over a company with 10,000 crores or 15,000 crores is not going to move the needle much. Yeah. If something like that was to come up, we look at the opportunity, but it's not sort of something which would
Are you looking for
set us
any
back if it
stressed
doesn't.
assets in the real estate segment? Because everyone's talking
No, not
about
really.
that.
We said that we would like to look at the stressed asset business because we have the expertise in real estate, we understand real estate markets, we understand housing markets, but we would do it through a separate entity.
Okay.
So either it would be a fund structure or it would be a separate company, a separate NBFC structure.
Sorry, Ramdev, last word. You're running out of time. Sorry.
So, how do you think about the size? Say you are already 2% of GDP, almost 3 lakh crore plus book. So, is it like if the total mortgage book goes by, say 20% of expanded GDP, so obviously the growth actually will be 22-23% going forward for the industry. You think the HDFC can become a 6 lakhs or 8 lakhs or 10 lakh crore kind of this thing? Where is the...
I mean, my sense is the growth is compounded growth.
Yes.
This obviously, as the larger the scale, the lesser will be the percentage growth. Logically, that has to happen. If your balance sheet size is 20,000 crores and your balance sheet size is 3 lakh crores, your percentage cannot be compared.
Yeah.
But because of the structural reasons that I talked about, my sense is that the demand for housing in India will always remain
The
strong.
industry will grow. But where is the constraint at company level? That okay,
there is no constraint.
There is no constraint.
We don't have we have the people in place. The resources are not a problem. The availability of funds is not an issue. The knowledge of markets is there. So there would be growth. But we would grow carefully. Lending is very easy. Recovery is more difficult. We have to make sure that we are getting money. We are lending money which is going to be recovered.
Okay. It's very easy to get broad directions from Ramdev, but we will never get specific stocks. So likewise, I guess you have no problems. Thank you very much, Ramdev and Kiki. We will have the pleasure of continuing the conversation off camera, but we have to bring the curtains on Bazaar.
Before that, I just want to make a point.
Yeah.
Right now we have by-election counting going on in Araria, Phulpur and also Gorakhpur. Gorakhpur, of course, being CM seat, that BJP should sail through. Why is Phulpur important? Because SP and BSP have come together just as a trial model to see if the united opposition works or not. And in Araria, for now, BJP is ahead of RJD, and that's also important because, in UP and Bihar, BJP won 100 seats last election, and in 2019 it will be important if they can repeat that. So Phulpur becomes very important to watch.
So at the moment things are going the NDA way.
Not in Phulpur. So that is also going to be an important by-election result. I think the market will be impacted by that as well.
Okay, gentlemen, as you can see, not only markets, but he is also our very own political commentator. But on that note, we will end Bazaar. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our conversations. We end the Bazaar on a somber note, though. Legendary physicist, scientist, cosmologist and author Stephen Hawking is no more. He passed away peacefully, though, at his home at the age of 76. What a great life, a great loss, actually, to the scientific community and the world at large. Thanks for watching.